It's our Zerg player representing Sweden and Cosmos Esports. His name is SortOf.
Facing off against the red Zerg player in the top right for AGO Esports, it's Elazer.
Can I tell you an embarrassing story from my past really quickly here, Pengy?
Go ahead.
So I
love hearing embarrassing stories that aren't about me.
It's so good. So I was in Korea for a couple years before this, and I was very honored to be invited to be I did some voice work for the GSL versus the World back in 2018. So they called me and they're like, Creighton, we need our usual voice guy's gone. We need somebody to announce the player names and their teams in the studio so we can play it for each match. And I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I can't wait. By the way, Elazer's going pool first here. Anyway, so really quickly, so I got to announce Elazer, but I pronounced his team name. I think it's correctly pronounced as AGO Esports or AGO Esports, and I instead said AGO Esports. And so then during the match at one point, Tasteless pulled off the incredible combo where he said, wait for it, guys. I can time this out. Wait for it. And they were like, and in the red, it's... And he went, Lego my... And then my voice said, AGO Esports. And I have never turned redder in the audience at GSL than that moment. I was like, oh man, what a glorious mistake to make on the world stage. Good work, Craig.
I mean, that's pretty good though. I like that. You set him up with some good content. That's really your job anyway, right?
You're right. It was totally intentional and I meant to do it. But yeah, so we see a quick pool here out of Elazer. Not a 12 pool, I think it was a 16 pool. And so not the most aggressive build we've ever seen, just trying to be safe here. Sort of going, looks like Hatch Gas Pool, very standard builds here. Pool about to finish up, should see a couple queens popping out. But you know, Pengy, these are two players who are both top tier European Zergs, but they're very different. Sorry, say that again?
They are two players, yes.
I nailed it. See, I'm so good at this. These are two players, not just like high-level European Zerg players, but I feel like they're at very different points in their StarCraft life cycle right now. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say so. They're very different players if you look at their careers, right? But hold on, there's actually some links coming in here from Elazer. I do actually like this a lot. This is you mentioned how this is a safe build. It's a very safe build opening like this, but it also gives you the ability to get 6 lings across the map just before the queen comes out. Free little worker kill there.
Oh yeah.
Almost gets to 2 lings as well. Picks up a couple more maybe on the ram. Elazer's gonna be able to get out with all 6 lings. Very nice.
Wow.
But yeah, I would agree. These guys are very, very different players if you look at their career, right? Elazer, the guy who was sort of on top, one of the best in Europe. He was considered arguably the best European Zerg in the year before Serral sort of broke out, that 2018 year when Serral was doing really well, but not, you know, the Serral God King that we know him as now. And then Elazer is sort of, I don't really want to say he's fallen off because he's still very, very good. He's just one of the many people who are very, very good in Europe now. I think it's fair to say he's not head and shoulders above the competition anymore. Whereas SortOf, really a guy who sort of, no pun intended, sort of exploded onto the scene in like 2012, I want to say. He did really well in an NASL season. He did really well in a DreamHack or 2 back in the day. And then he just sort of fell into the background for a while, right? He was just a good European player who was exceptionally good on ladder, but wasn't really putting up the results that everybody knew he was capable of for a while. And then more recently, he's sort of begun putting those results up again. He's doing a lot better. He's winning in these tournaments. He made the playoffs last season. And he's not necessarily favored in this series. I would still say that Elazer is the favored player, but SortOf is definitely looking better and better in the recent months, I would say.
Yes, he has struggled a bit this tournament, I think. His results not bearing maybe how great of a player he really is and can be. But really interesting to see him pushing through so well. And as you said, bit of a resurgence lately. Exciting to see. Now, we have a really, really distinctly different game going down right now than we've seen in some ZVZs previously here on the B stream. It seems like all this, I don't know if you've been watching the B stream too much, Penky, but it seems like a lot of our ZVZs have been very identical, mirror-matchy sort of builds that came down to micro positioning and map awareness. This, however, looks like we're seeing radically different builds from these two players. The 2-base Lingbane Mutaplay out of Elazer, and sort of with a bit more standard 3-base Roach, getting up to the Lair Tech. Gonna go for speed Roaches very quickly. If SortOf doesn't spot this Spire, how screwed is he? Or does he already know it's there?
Oh, he definitely doesn't know it's there. The build that Elazer is going for is a fake +1 Roach push. You could see what he did just there when the Lings came into vision. He started Roach speed just so that he would see the Roach Warren moving and then canceled it. This build is designed to look like Elazer is powering up for a 41 drone Roach speed push across the map. As time goes on, SortOf is likely to think to himself, all right, this is a little bit weird. I haven't seen any Roaches. But SortOf is going into a Spire, which is going to put this game into a weird position. SortOf's third is up earlier. If he gets those gases, he'll have a bit of a gas advantage. But the fact that the Mutas are already out here for Elazer means that he's going to be able to apply a lot of pressure before the Spire is anywhere near done for SortOf. So this becomes a very, very weird situation where there's a lot of questions on our mind. A, does Elazer spot the Spire? If he doesn't, then SortOf might just be able to overwhelm him in the air, because it's likely that Elazer goes for a tech switch into Roaches behind this, right?
Right.
B, if they both go into a Muta versus Muta sort of situation, how far ahead is SortOf going to be on the gas count? Will Elazer be able to pick off a gas geyser, or maybe pick off a Muta or two while they spawn to sort of close that gap? That's the questions that we're going to be asking. And now we actually see a large pusher with Lings, as already Elazer going to be pouncing on top of these Queens and Roaches. Not a single Muta goes down, which is very important in the longer stages of this game. Muta's on the way out for SortOf, but it looks like Elazer may have just caught him with his pants down here a little bit. There's nothing to defend this third. So greedy out of SortOf, and he's losing so much. GG is just going to be called right then and there. Wow.
Man, let me tell you, kids, save those queens like they're your own mother. Not just your brood mother, but your actual mother. If you see that... Well, what's interesting is SortOf saw that push coming. He had an Overseer in the main base of Elazer that got taken down by the Mutas. So he had the entire rush time of the Mutas to get those Spore Crawlers up, and then his queen's just getting caught in the transfer, and the extra +1 Lings from Elazer helping to clean that up. I think getting caught with his pants down is just the absolute correct response there. The absolute correct assessment there. SortOf just trying to get ready for the Roaches, trying to get his Spire on up, and unfortunately getting caught in a really nice timing there by Elazer. So Elazer pulling a bit of who's the kid's character who teaches people a lesson in trickery. I feel like I've seen that meme before, but I don't know what it is. That one, yeah.
I know this one.
Yeah, there you go, Panky. Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's good to have a commentator who's young and hip and with it. See, exactly. So Robbie Rotten pulling a bit of a lesson in trickery there. Was that bluff from Elazer so successful that it won in the game?
Yes. I think we talked about it a lot in the Soul match. Preparation, build orders, choice. And we saw it again there. That was 100% SortOf believing that was a Roach push for far too long. Elazer is a guy who, I don't want to say he made his career in 2018 off of Roach pushes, because like that's selling him a little bit short.
Right.
But he always has been a fan of aggressive Roach play. He leaned into that image, and he faked him out, and SortOf absolutely believed that was a Roach push for far too long. And I think the Spire that he threw down sort of proves that out, bears that out, because going for a Spire that far behind a Spire of your opponent when you know that they went Spire isn't really a thing you do. It's a very, very, very gambly way to respond to Mutas, and it's not something that players at this level will generally do at all. So I feel like the fact that he was going Mutas himself really showed that he didn't have any idea that was happening.
Man, I don't want to get too nostalgic here, because I'm only 31. I don't know how old you are, Pengy. I feel like I'm not quite old enough to be
I am not a day over 18, Creighton.
Perfect. So you're 18, so you would understand, you young kids anyway. So I don't want to get too nostalgic, because I feel like I'm not old enough for that, but my god, this is one of the reasons that I love StarCraft so much. So many games that you play. I mean, like, look, and this is not a totally fair comparison, but I mean, think about like Fall Guys. There's one way to win Fall Guys. You can mechanically be better than other people, or I guess you can hack, whatever. But
two ways, I guess.
Yeah. So, but StarCraft, there are about a dozen different ways to outplay your opponent, either with your actual physical micro, macro mechanics, or mentally. You can do this sort of trickery that we saw coming out of Elazer, setting these expectations, hiding tech units, playing on your image, your history together, researching all your games. There's so many different ways to win a StarCraft match. It's one of the reasons that this is one of the few esports that you see continuing for 10, I mean, if you count Brood War, for 20-odd years now. I mean, my god. It's just such a deep game, and it makes me so happy that there's going to be so much StarCraft for so much longer. Looks like our admin has actually gone for a bit of a smoke break. I'm not sure where he went. So I tell you what, actually, Pengy, if you don't mind, we'll take a short break here between games. Absolutely. I don't usually like to do that, but it looks like our admin taking a short break, so they need to set up the game so that DreamHack can harvest the replays. A quick reminder to all of you in the chat, DreamHack is one of the few tournaments that guarantees the release of all their replays, I believe, free of charge. So after the tournament, they'll tweet at some point, and they will say, They will say, here's all the replays. So they have to set up all the events, or all the matches, so they can guarantee the replays for everybody. And actually, as I'm filling a bit of time, it looks like our admin's back. And he's quoting... He's doing some research, apparently. He's quoting Pullman et al. 2018, page 4. I really want to know what the hell Trados is talking about here.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google that.
That's exactly what I'm doing, because he's clearly, like, in the middle of his grad theory. Professionalism in esports.
I love
Pullman et al.
Trados is one of my favorite human beings.
Oh my god. Professionalism in esports, benefits in skills and health and possible downsides.
Interesting. I'm not going to read that right now, but it looks interesting.
Wow. The things that you see casting StarCraft. This is so weird. Okay, so we're getting into Game 2 finally here. On Golden Wall LE. Now, Pengy, this is a rare treat for us here. We rarely see Golden Wall games, and I'm sure as a player and a coach, you hate this map, but as a caster, how much fun is it?
I love this map. I really like this map a lot.
I have not. That is a hot take. I do not hear that from anybody. Say more right now, Pengy.
I make mutas every game. It's a good muta map.
So now if you run into Pengy on the ladder, guys, you know what to prep for. Let's hop into Golden Wall LE for Game 2 of SortOf versus Elazer. And here we are, spawning on that far left-hand side of Golden Wall. It's our blue Zerg player representing Sweden and Cosmos Esports. It is Rickard Mechanics Bergman, SortOf.
Mr. Ricky himself, facing off against the man in the bottom right. He's the red Zerg player for AGO Esports. It is Elazer. Nikowai.
Love that.
Elazer. Nikowai, I believe, is the correct pronunciation.
Ooh, say it one more time. I was talking over you. Say it correctly so the chat can hear.
I don't know if I'm 100% right. I'm trying my best. Mikołaj Ogonowski.
Ooh, that sounded good.
Thanks.
That sounded good. I get in a lot of trouble in my chat when I try to pronounce Polish things. Because for some reason I have a lot of Polish people who watch me on occasion, because it's a huge esports country, and they're always lurking around, and they're very quiet in my chat until I say like a Polish player's name or try and read what they're writing in Polish, and then immediately I am sent dozens of angry messages about how terrible my pronunciation is and how dare I. And generally they're very polite about it, but then I always feel bad because I'm like, man, come on, your language is so hard, and I barely speak English good.
Can I get you to try to say Mana's first name? I actually know the answer to this one, but my pronunciation might be off.
Let me look this up. I don't want to get it wrong. Hang on. Yeah, no, there's too many Z's in that name.
There's not enough vowels.
Classic Poland. I mean, I would just call him Greg.
I like it, Greg. We'll just call him Greg. I believe it's Grzegorz, I think.
That sounds right.
I'm sorry, Polish people. There's definitely Polish people watching. We're casting Elazer. We'll find out in about 2 minutes in Twitch chat how badly we butchered those. But I love this early Evo coming out of Elazer. This looks to me like this could be an extremely fast +1 for Roaches, but I feel like this is probably going to be Ling melee upgrades. There it is. And this is going to be, it's a great map for this. Golden Wall, another map. Very, very good for mutas because of just the sheer size of it. But also, a lot of attack pass, which means that +1 Lings can get a lot of work done. And as we all know, in ZBZ, if you're in Ling versus Ling and one of you has +1, it's not going to be pretty for the other person.
Definitely not. Now, really interesting scouting patterns here from SortOf. I guess he's checking for the third base ever to see if there's a quick third. Now, if SortOf were to get into Elazer's base and spot this Evo chamber blorching away with an upgrade, he of course doesn't know if it's +1 melee or +1 missile attack. What conclusion do you think SortOf's going to draw if he gets the scout off?
It should be pretty obvious that it's +1 melee. If it's range, you're generally not going to put it in the back like this. If you're going for really fast +1 range for the Roaches, you really want that wall at the front. Because if you're going Roaches, the opponent's going to know that it's +1 range, so it's not, you don't really need to hide that too much. Okay. But if you're hiding the Evo, it's almost always going to mean that it's going to be +1 melee. But it's very, very difficult to scout on this map. You're not really going to get an overlord in the main. Not that you usually do send an overlord into the main, but it's not easy at all to get units into the main to scout this. So we're probably going to be seeing a lot of Lings coming out to try to deny a third. And then probably another build into Mutas, I would say. He's going up to 3 gases already, but that's an extremely fast fire. This time it's going to be Ricky who's going for that fake Roach play at the front while throwing up that Spire. He's not going for the +1 melee that we saw Elazer go for last game.
Interesting. Is he going to cancel this +1 missile attack then, or do you let it finish?
I don't think so. I think he's going to go for maybe 6 or 7 Mutas to get some early map control, and then just go into Roaches behind that.
Oh, wow, interesting. So he cancels that.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Cancels the missile attack, goes straight into melee. Now, that's a really interesting choice from SortOf. It looks like he is trying to basically copy the build that he saw in the previous game from Elazer. Are there any major differences right now between what SortOf's doing this game and what Elazer did last game that I'm not seeing?
A couple of spines coming up in the main for SortOf. He's leaning into the being legitimately safe a little bit more, I think. He's also going for the Roach speed, which is something that Elazer only faked. So I do still think that he's going to commit less to the Mutas, but this is a really painful moment here for SortOf. Elazer gets on in. Slippery, slidey Lings. They rubbed some KY jelly on themselves and got into the main. That Queen not quite able to hold on to them. But now we see a lot of Lings coming out. This isn't really going to amount to too much, though, right now. With no third base coming down, SortOf has kind of nipped this +1 Ling build in the bud, because the entire purpose of these Lings is to deny a third. So when there's no third,
You know, Pengy, I've never understood KY jelly. It tastes terrible on toast, and I wasn't going to waste it, right? So I used the whole jar, because I was like, I don't want to waste this stuff. But I can't imagine who really enjoys that. It was just such an odd experience. Maybe it's a foreigner thing or something, but I couldn't get into the flavor at all. It was strange. First 4 Mutas coming out here for SortOf. He's got Ling speed still on the way. It looks like the Roach speed did, in fact, get canceled there for SortOf. Did not let it finish. And that honestly just feels like he's behind now. He started missile attacks, canceled it, started melee instead. Started Roach speed as a fake, canceled it. And now he's just got a bit of a weaker build than Elazer does. Yeah. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but man, this looks like Elazer's got +1 melee attacks. He's going to have +1 Carapace way before SortOf does, so the Ling battle going to be won by Elazer. And even though SortOf's barely ahead, getting his Mutas out a little bit more quickly, SortOf is going to be ahead on the overall Muta count here before too long, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, Muta versus Muta, especially at the highest levels, are not won by having more Mutas. It's won by, you need to keep pace with your opponent's Muta count, right? But as you're getting a bit of an advantage, right? If you pick off 2 Mutas, you can make a mental note of, okay, I got 200 gas there, and you spend that on something else, and that's where you sort of build your advantage. And usually what ends up winning the game in a long Muta versus Muta game is Ling upgrades, because if you have a much better upgrade count on your Lings, you're just going to obliterate the ground army. If you've got Carapace on your Lings, the Mutas in the sky aren't really going to kill them that fast. So you can really start to overpower your opponent on the ground if you get ahead in upgrades. And as we've seen, Elazer's already back ahead. He's got that +1 Carapace finished up now against just +1 melee. And there's no additional upgrades coming in for SortOf on the ground. So really unfortunate for him. He also started up +1 air attacks. And I guess he identified that it was going to be Mutas too late for him to cancel that, because +1 air attacks is not really the upgrade you want in Muta versus Muta either. It's a lot less effective than +1 Carapace, which we see Elazer going into.
Right.
And of course, he's going to have that upgrade a lot before Elazer has his Carapace. So there's going to be a window where SortOf does have that upgrade lead. But effectively, if you have a +1 Carapace upgrade against a +1 attack upgrade, you effectively have an upgrade lead, even though you're both just sitting on +1. So Elazer is really getting himself ahead in essentially every feasible way. He's up to 4 bases now, with a 3rd base just finishing up for SortOf. Elazer's looking great in this game.
Can I clarify for the people at home really quickly? So you said if you have a +1 Flyer Carapace upgrade against a +1 attack upgrade, the player with the Carapace upgrade is actually 1 upgrade ahead?
Yes.
And
the
that's
reason
due to the
for
Glaive
that,
Worm bounce mechanic, right?
Yes, exactly. Because the attack upgrade just increases the first hit, or it increases the attack of the Mutas, right? It makes the Glaive do a little bit more damage, the initial attack, but the Carapace upgrade affects every single Glaive bounce. So it's a pretty big deal, and costs a little bit more, costs that 50 gas extra, but it is a more effective upgrade to have long term. And I think honestly, SortOf is already finding himself in a position where he might need to go full turtle and try to get Vipers for a Parasitic Bomb. I honestly don't know how he wins this game otherwise, because he's behind in every way.
Huh. these little advantages really starting to stack up for Elazer. It's nice, of course, that SortOf has started his own +1 carapace. That's such a slow upgrade, though, my god. And now this positioning from Elazer, really nice. He zoned those mutas sort of out and made sure that SortOf wasn't able to get on top, and now there's this ugly-ass muta ball, this writhing. I feel like I've seen this in a video that I'm not allowed to talk about before. Just tendrils and tentacles everywhere here for these mutas. I have no idea who's going to come out on top. It looks like Elazer's going to get chased away, but he still has that mutalisk advantage, 7-7. But of course, as you said, with the carapace upgrade finishing up for Elazer, he probably would have liked for that fight to have happened about now and not.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of, not necessarily an overextension. He lost more mutas in the main fight than SortOf did. The reason why he's still ahead is that he picked up a couple before the fight started.
Right.
I definitely feel like he could have won the game if that fight had happened when he had +1 carapace, but he's still in a really good position. He's up so much supply. He's got 8 gases going. He's got the lings coming across. I mean, these lings are not just better in upgrades, but they're so much higher in number. He splits off a couple of them, and now this is what is essentially supposed to be the death push. I don't know if he has enough mutas to win the air fight, but there's just so much on the ground, and SortOf has no way to answer it, Creighton.
I mean, look at the unit counting station alone. 82 lings, 70 lings against 20. Even if all of the mutas from Elazer just exploded in midair due to a massive miracle parasitic bomb, that's still 80 lings that your opponent doesn't have, and it would take those mutas from SortOf forever to clean up these +1/+1 lings. We can't see a meager counterattack from SortOf in the natural right now of Elazer, but Elazer tearing through everything in SortOf's base, and I think SortOf right now, just sort of at that gamer stage where he's processing the loss a little bit and just sort of at his keyboard thinking, oh man, this is rough. Not quite ready to GG out, but certainly close.
Yeah, he won the muta fight, so there's always that moment after you win the... Okay, I have the muta advantage, maybe? There's that little bit of... It's the stage of denial, right? The when you're going through the 7 stages of grief. He's in the denial stage right now. We'll be seeing acceptance soon enough, though.
Hopefully that's the case. Queen's here, the muta count from Elazer starting to grow again, and yeah, he sees those other mutas from Elazer, knows the third base is safe.